This week, episode 3 of the Back Bay Composers podcast. We have Alan Hsiao back after a year. We discuss his new song, You Moved On, and a little older one, I Hardly Know You. So it's been a year since you came on last time for like the first episode. What's happened within that year? Let's start there.
Has it really been a year?
Yeah, I know. I looked at the date of the last time we had published the episode. It's been a year. So last time we talked, we were both still in school, just sort of writing music, starting to think about future plans, and then future happened, and like we're in totally different place. We're recording this in 2 different states.
Yeah. And I'm still in school.
You're still, I mean, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say, you're still in school. You're at a good school. Where are you at right now?
So I'm at Frost School of Music in Miami, Florida, part of University of Miami.
Woo woo.
Yeah. And, so man, when we kind of were talking, was I talking about grad schools or anything, or?
I don't even remember what we were I feel like we were just trying to survive undergrad.
And like, I forget, was that before all the grad school auditions and everything?
Yeah, it was. It was like the first couple weeks of school.
Okay, I see. Yeah, well, I just kind of made the decision to kind of, try doing some grad school auditions and see if there would maybe be some, some nice situations that I could do. Because it was either like, so you've been doing the opposite. You're working, you're making money, and you're living as an adult. And I just kind of wanted to put that off a little more if I could and still be in school, That was the main thing. I was really lucky to, having gotten into Frost, and it's a really nice, really great school here, really great environment. Everybody's so friendly, and, already things are looking good. You moved on. I have tried. It's amazing what 3 years alone can do for your self-esteem. What did I learn from all of this time on my own? Surely I'd have grown into someone who was whole, who could then find someone else and be happy till the end. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe you were the only one who could ever show me love. And I gave you up.
So yeah, and let's start from there. So you recorded, did you record this at Frost? You moved on?
Part of the program here. So I'm a studio jazz writing major, and a lot of it is about the jazz writing for sure, but then and especially this semester, it's very tech heavy. We're learning how to use a lot more studio equipment. Every Friday we record the school's forums, do video for that too. And I've had some experience with Pro Tools and videography before, especially while I was still at Berkeley. My last semester I took some great classes there, but here it's a lot of experience doing, and there's a lot of great equipment here. So yeah, I did record that song here while in one of the studios kind of that we have access to, and it was all the school's equipment. So yes, yeah.
You just came out with this a week ago, right? You moved on?
Yeah, I guess it is a week ago.
And so it's you playing all the parts, playing the trombone part, the keyboard, the singing on it. Really well done. And one thing that I wanted to discuss, just like you, sort of the reason that made me go this way is you have some really great jazzy, it's almost like I feel like it's a lot like a really great melody of a 1940s big band tune or something like that. The melody, just because of the syncopation in it, if you know what I mean in it, because it's very different than how a singer-songwriter today would write lyrics. It's very
exactly
creatively phrasing things, and it doesn't sound unnatural. The one line I think of is I have tried.
It's amazing what 3 years alone can do for your self-esteem. One thing that people have told me often, pretty much no matter what I do, is always, wow, that sounds really musical theater-y. And the thing is, in high school especially, I really kind of discovered and listened to so much of Stephen Sondheim.
Oh, yeah.
He was the first person to really launch me into being even considering lyrics as something that I would like. You know, before that, it was like I was just in high school playing instrumental concert band and jazz band music, and I thought that was all great. But just what he does is still, in my eyes, maybe the best music ever. You know, I might go so far as to say that, just in my eyes. So, you know, it's been several years, and I've listened to a lot of his works, and even more recently dug into it. And so I think a lot of the ideas that I have in terms of maybe melodic phrasing is maybe what we're talking about, or just, especially now, groove construction, and it's in a chamber setting too.
I was just going to say, to me, a lot of the like musical theater influence comes from, for this song, when I hear it, I think of the just what you were saying, the orchestration almost of it, because like the keyboard and then just the one instrument playing melody with you.
Yeah, so I would definitely say that it definitely comes a lot from that. And it's weird, like I would sometimes be a little like, oh, people think this is musical theater music, but like I think it's a good thing. I think it makes sense for me. And I'd love to work in musical theater eventually, but I think it's okay for me to write music that maybe borrows from that sound, but it's still just a song for a song's sake, you know?
And I don't necessarily believe that it's very, like, I don't listen to this. I didn't get that at my first vibe. I got like, this is like just like you said, a singer-songwriter song, but it's just, to me, it feels like it pulled a lot from jazz with the melody line, but then the orchestration maybe is musical theater-ishy. I never really got that vibe. I get more of the singer-songwriter vibe, which I really like.
Okay, cool.
For your stuff, because it's cool. You don't really hear many singer-songwriters doing like jazz singer, like, I don't know how to describe it, but you just don't hear a ton of music like this a lot. It's a good combination. And one thing I also wanted to bring up is the development in this piece. It's very different than, I feel like, some of your past music, where you you take one line and you really develop it out more, and then you develop the lyrics out more. It's not really a ton of different sections of the music, if that makes sense. You know, it's sort of like, all right, here's our melody, and then we're just going to develop that throughout. Is that something you consciously thought about when you were writing this?
It definitely was, and I was talking to a friend about it. And so when it was first in the earlier stages, and maybe this whole thing took, and I like to take my time with things, and along the way I kind of like, one day I'd play this and be like, okay, maybe that's how I'll do it, and then I'd give it a few days and I'd go back to be like, oh, never mind, let me change that. But from the beginning, I kind of thought in my mind, there was one point when I had written a bit of it, and I was like, you know, I like the idea, but for this to be a successful song, I should probably definitely follow some more popular music trends, which is something I've been thinking about a lot recently, in terms of form and like verse, chorus, etc., and kind of like the standard things you're taught. And I was trying to make it fit that mold, and it just wasn't working. And in my eyes, I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it the way that I want it to unfold? And so I went for it, and it was conscious. The form that it ended up being in is really like A prime, A double prime, A triple prime, interlude, and then B. And I was like, you know, that makes no sense in terms of what normally happens.
Contemporary songwriting classes.
But I'm just going to do it.
But it works really well.
I made sure that the interlude, the da 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 da, was like a very, very strong melodic statement that was like a hook, essentially. And I was okay with things leading up to it being kind of sparse. I'm glad you said developed, because I was afraid maybe all the material wasn't really linking too well together. But if you're saying it's developed, then that's good.
I'm just listening in my headphones as well as we're talking, and
Oh.
and the syncopation in that melody is just so hip, and it's so subtle too. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, you know what, that's something I've been trying to work on too, and it wasn't really in the composition phase. It was more in the recording and performance phase when I've spent so much time writing music or whatever, and like I could, I think something that really could benefit me, which I'm trying to do, and maybe other people, I don't know, is just take a step back and be like, okay, what is actually going to make a song a really good song? There's things that people do that just take it up a step beyond just like settling. It's so easy to just settle for certain choices all the time, where I'm placing,
and not go to the nth degree for everything.
Yeah. So where I'm placing the melodic stuff in here, for example, is like a really good example of me just trying to be very careful and specific about it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to talk about before we move on from You Moved On is the story in the song as well, because the other little song you have is sort of in the same genre.
With this song, I can go ahead and say that I was definitely drawing on some more personal experiences, and with the first one though, that
Live Without You.
Yeah, that was more. I'm okay with, I think these days as well, writing from a false perspective, like for the sake of telling a story. Like that song.
For those who don't know, for those who don't know, Live Without You is about like being married and living with someone, but they died.
Yeah.
And trying to move on from that. So I assume that never happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never personally experienced something like that, but just I kind of, I very much value honesty in music and life, maybe beyond everything else. And I think, and especially with the stories that I've been taking a look at and what I like, I think there's a way to write and express ideas honestly, even if they aren't necessarily what happened to you. And we're looking at two different examples here. We're looking at something that didn't happen to me, and we're looking at something that did. But I'm still trying to carry that language and how would, like, putting yourself in those shoes, and how would I say this if it was real or not, Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's a good point. It's interesting that I forget the phrase that you just used, but writing from not a false narrative, but a false perspective.
Yeah.
Is Live Without You the first time you've ever done that?
Yes. I mean, I might go ahead and say, like, still lyric writing is kind of fresh and new to me. It hasn't been that long, but the times that I have done it has always been kind of from the frame of like, hey, I'm Alan and this is what I'm saying, that was kind of the first time. I don't know, like I mean I use the same character in the drawings, for example, for both of them, but in my eyes he's just kind of like a utility guy that I can use for whatever. It didn't happen to me, but I did kind of just maybe tried to empathize with that kind of character perspective. I mean, because I want to still, moving forward, be able to do both and kind of be able to write a story about whatever, or something that did really happen or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
real feelings. That's awesome. Well, that's great. I feel like we've conquered the little song part of the story. Now, I want to bring up, you were talking about how much you wanted to move into some more of this small ensemble and chamber group stuff. But I wanted to bring up your track, I Hardly Know You.
I hardly know you, but each time I see you I get butterflies, 'cause I guess I like you, although that's probably unwise. I thought I'd stay away from chasing someone for a while, but silly me, when my thoughts wander, they always end up on your smile.
It started out, I did a sketch of it as like a vocal ensemble, like overdubbed vocals, just of the bridge. So that's how it kind of started. Like, and I was doing some of that kind of stuff where I'd instead of just actually finishing a piece and waiting till it's all done, I just, when I had the idea, just kind of record a quick vocal thing of it maybe, and just because I was excited about it. So that's how it started. It was just like a vocal thing. I forget when I made the transition to big band. There, concert jazz. We're allowed to talk about ensembles, right, at Berkeley, right?
I mean, I feel like they didn't make us sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I think
I
we're okay.
I don't know about these things sometimes. I brought in a sketch of the big band version to concert jazz
which is like the top big band at Berkeley, right?
Yeah. I mean, so there's 3, and they're all good. Concert jazz is cool because they play a lot of student works. I brought in, and it was like all the way up through the solo section at that point.
Oh wow, so that's most of the chart.
But that was like a year before this recording session that I did.
Oh wow.
And I think at the time, I wanted to write it as a big band thing. You know what? There's a Thad Jones piece, Little Rascal on a Rock. Don't know if you know it.
Okay.
But like,
yeah,
I was very into that song. It's so cool. It's like very cute, and they use it's 3 flutes and clarinets. I heard it, man. Were you there with us when we saw the Vanguard in New York?
No, I didn't go to New York that trip.
Right.
I was so lame. I had to work.
No, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, that was a school week, or we had like a 3-day week. I forget, but that was when I heard this piece, and I was just like so down with a lot of the ideas he had in there. So
at Village Vanguard, you heard that piece with the Village Vanguard Big Band?
Yes, yeah.
That's not, first off, incredible experience. You got to acknowledge that. That must have been sick.
Oh yeah, for sure. That concert was great, and it was like one of the live concert experiences that I was at that was like, oh man, really glad I'm seeing this live. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. A friend of ours, do you remember Dong Hee?
Oh yeah, of course I do. I was in a band with her for a little while.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah. So she was taking a class where she needed to produce and record an artist, and I think someone kind of canceled on her. So she just asked if I had something kind of ready to go, and that's how this happened. I got to do this for a free session. It was really late too, but I paid the people. But like it was like a 2 to 6 a.m.
Oh
session.
man, those were the worst. I remember too many of those.
Yeah. So, but we worked on this song specifically, which what she was using for her project, and I recorded some others at the session too. But like that's when I kind of finished it up for sure and finalized the form, and just made sure it kind of hit everything I wanted to with it. And then we did the session. She mixed it, and then a friend of hers also mixed it for their school stuff. And it just that's why the mix on this is like in my
top notch.
Yeah, because I mean I'm not the one who did it, so I can say that. It's definitely like it's really
great.
Good big band mixing going on here. Yeah.
And it's a good, I mean, the players you got, I'm just looking at the video. I mean, it's like the top cats too. Like you got a really good band to play it as well.
Well, I mean, I think I was kind of lucky at Berkeley. It seemed just every time and it's not easy. I mean,
you hustled always. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I had done several sessions at Berkeley, at this point, and there's a lot of times when it's like 2 days before and you still need a lead trumpet player, but like it always works out for whatever reason. But in general, yeah, people have just been very nice and willing to play my stuff. And now I'm not there
because you're a good guy. And now you're getting everyone at Frost to play your stuff, right? Or
hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's funny. The first thing I've recorded, I was just me, so I didn't need to ask anybody for anything. So
And you got Jake Hirsch to play the solo on it, which was great.
Yeah.
also just a cute song. Like the lyrics are cute and funny and things like that, and you do a good job of keeping that cuteness and funniness. That's not a word, I think, but you keep the funness with your orchestration. Since we're just talking about it, I want to bring that up. You do a good job of, and like you were mentioning earlier, you're not like the big band, like let's go turn up to like key to 1,000 and like let's rock and roll. It's a really fun and cutesy. You do a really great job of orchestrating in that sense.
Thanks. I mean, so far I've written a lot of music that kind of is characterized by that sound, just because I enjoy music like that. I think it's maybe a little representative of me as a guy. Not saying that I'm a big old cutie over here, but you know, I think that sound just kind of makes sense to me, you know. It's similar with the little songs too. I think more and more, it's weird. I've been kind of afraid, you know, the more I do this, like how many times can I really go along that vibe? But I think more and more I'm like, you know what? It makes sense to me. And I think there's no problem with me kind of doing that. But also it makes me wonder if there should be a time soon or later when I kind of try a different kind of sound, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's also tough when you're young. We don't really, I don't know. I think about this a lot. Like I don't really know what my sound is going to be yet. Right.
Well, that's a good problem to talk about too. I mean, when I wrote I Hardly Know You, and I was like, man, this is, I was like thinking about recording a big band EP, for example, even. And like now I'm finding so much more value in the little song stuff.
Small. Yeah.
That like if I were to put something out there, I think it'd be more along those lines. And it, you know, I've always thought it's very important to kind of have a lot of clarity in your writing, as to what your sound is and what this all kind of comes, when we're writing, we're thinking about all the individual components of the music, but I think it's most important to just look at the big picture and what does the whole thing feel like aesthetically. And that's kind of what your sound is. And I've always kind of thought that in order to make good music, it needs to have good direction and clarity in that sense. I've always kind of tried to work on that.
So do you think of like when you write, do you think of end goals then? Are you like, this is how I want this piece to feel overall? And then you go into the individual components and sort of work towards that? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
That's fine. It's interesting. Like, usually when I write, what gets me started is like some one aspect of the piece. Like, it's like one motive, one idea that just kind of captures me and makes me excited about it, and then that is I'm making up these words.
I know we've been making up words all
on
day.
purpose, Wes. Representative of the overall sound.
Yeah,
you know, and so like I'll start with the motive, then kind of think, okay, that's what this piece is. It's this, and I got to be very clear that all my choices are going to work in line with that, towards that, you know. Yeah, so it is always important to me, but in like a broad sense, what's going to happen 2-3 years from now? Am I going to still have the same values? Like, yeah, I don't know. And that's why I think it's okay to put music out while you're growing. And
yeah, I think about that a lot as well.
Personally, for me, I have no problem. I like that I'm trying to put music out there on, for example, my YouTube or just between you and me and whoever listens to this. I'm
my mom.
I'm kind of maybe cutting out the Facebook page for now, or just kind of not posting on there. I don't know. Facebook's reach is just giving me a little bit of like, I don't know how much you've dealt with. I mean, maybe it's interesting to talk about marketing and whatever too, but like it just, Facebook is not very helpful for small people, I think. Just,
yeah,
just saying.
I
they want you to pay for it. So
Yeah, they want you to promote it and all that stuff a lot more.
yeah. So at this point, for me, it makes sense to just keep putting stuff out there, and hopefully end up maybe somewhere where I'm really like, man, I'm glad I waited before I like recorded an album, for example, and then I'm ready. Yeah, this is my album. This is what it means to me, or, I mean that's what I think is gonna happen, unless I never do an album. I mean, I don't know, not sure yet.
I mean, those are good goals. Those are good things to have in mind. It's tough because we live in an age where it's not like the album's going to make your career. It's really like the fans and people just following you continuously through your career.
Yeah, I mean, an album would be definitely more of like a passion project, for me.
Yeah,
I think. But also, I don't even really listen to albums anyway. I more go just by song. I mean, I think that's a consequence of our generation, as we've said at one point, but. Yeah. I don't know. There's several ways to go about it, but, I'm still in school, just kind of trying to learn more, hopefully carve out more of what I think the music I want to be writing is going to be, figure that out a little more clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, that's a good spot to be at. That's a good spot to be at in your early 20s, I think.
A lot of what I'm doing these days is I'm really looking at the people that I really admire and thinking about, what literally did they do, or what kind of music are they writing, and, why are they big now?
I think about that Eric Whitacre a lot with that, because he's probably, when he came to Berkeley, it was like the Beatles showed up. Like people were screaming over, like he had to have security. It was wild. Like that blew my, and like I remember experiencing that and being like, holy cow, this is this is a composer. Like this, like the only composers I met before then were like, people that we would just sit in lecture halls and listen to and be like, yeah, it was dope, but we're not about to, it's not the Beatles. And with Whitacre, it was like, holy crap. Like,
well, that's the thing. I mean, Whitaker's doing something that's different and is good. And that's the biggest thing that kind of like gets me that motivates me to like do something more than other things. Like, especially in a school setting, which we've both experienced, especially like when there's a curriculum and there's teachers that are just telling you like, okay, this is music, this is how you do it. Go ahead and graduate. And then it's like, I think in order for you to make good music, that kind of has to make you angry. If you're like okay with what they're telling you, I think like in order to establish the curriculum and whatnot, there's certain things that are codified in a way that were maybe. The thing is, it's dated. I mean, it's representative of the past and what jazz was back then and
contemporary
music,
I mean, I was in the classical department, and even that, like our contemporary pieces were still like 20 years old, 30 years old.
Yeah. But like that's why especially now I'm looking at what do I like a lot that other people like a lot. Like what are people listening to and taking the time out of their day to be like, wow, this music is worthwhile. I don't know. I think, there's certain things school can't do, and I think maybe it just has to be a personal endeavor of the individual as far as they want to take it or not. I mean, that's what makes you a musician, I think.
Every day here at home in our room, all alone, I keep waiting for you, 'cause it's all I know how to do. I don't know how to live without you. Laundry days come and gone, mail's piled up on the lawn. Neighbors think we've moved out, they don't know I'm still here without you, and I'm still crazy about you. You left me just
Thanks again, Alan. You should subscribe if you're listening to this to Alan's YouTube page, ALAN space HSIAO. You should subscribe and comment and give us 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcasts. so that people
right.
can subscribe to us. Also subscribe to our YouTube page. We have an Instagram page. It has no posts, so don't follow us. Follow us, like us on Facebook. Yeah, we appreciate you listening. I'm not sure who it is, but thanks to the one of you. That was a joke. Nice. All right, Alan, thanks again so much. Seriously appreciate it.
I hardly know you, but each time I see you I get butterflies, 'cause I guess I like you, although that's probably unwise. I thought I'd stay away from chasing someone for a while, but silly me, when my thoughts wander, they always end up on your smile. I hardly know you, but each time we pass I worry what to say. Maybe, hey, you're kinda cute, would you like to go out on a date? I know I'm probably rushing 2 or maybe 10 steps ahead, but I'd like to hold your hand, although I hardly know you. Oh, why am I so captured by your smile and your voice and your eyes and all that you have to say? I would clear my whole day just to stop and say hey to you. I would clear my whole day just to stop and say hey. I would clear my whole day just to stop and say hey. Are you free, care to go for a drink? It's on me. I would clear every day just to stop and say hey to you, although I hardly know you.